Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. As you seen in the thumbnail, in this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the husband of the Holy Goddess episode 1, and if you want more then please leave a like, share and subscribe. Let's get in the video. For years, we all have read or heard about the Olympians, the 12 beings that guide and rule our world. But what if one was different? What if one of the 12 Olympians were not the one we read about? What would change? One little difference, one changed fate, one lapse of fate. This is a story about one of the hundreds of what-ifs out there for this realm, one where that point however many zeros 1% chance, that when Kronos tossed Urano's dismembered part into the ocean, it drew in the essence and form of a lost soul. This story answers the question of, what if the goddess of love was a god of love? Upon the mountain called Olympus, we find the 12 Olympians gathering for their summer solstice. If someone from the original realm was nearby, they would assume that the Olympians all just forgot what the day was, cause there was no arguing, no fighting, no shouting threats, and no mountain or sky shaking. Looking in on the meeting, we find the Olympians talking about something that was surprisingly enough brought up by Ares, who got interested in the multiverse theories the humans came up with, though the only reason he did find out about it was because his own sons from Camp Half-Blood were talking about the many possibilities the said theory brought up, such as a world filled with nothing but war and destruction. Apollo and Hermes got interested due to their thoughts about gender bending, which caused the comments about there being an alternate world where there were only females they could visit, which also got them to think of the opposite. Artemis had tuned them out until they mentioned the all-girl world, which caused her to side with her brothers about visiting said worlds. Hephaestus had wanted to visit other worlds the moment he realized he would need another him and be able to bounce ideas off of someone who would be able to actually give a proper response. Most of the other gods and goddesses were getting more and more curious about the many possibilities, though the reaction that got the most laughs was Ares talking about who the god of love would marry if he were a she. Naruto, cause that was the name he claimed upon his birth against even the word of Zeus, who claimed to have better naming sense than he, felt like breaking a table with his head. Ares continued to talk about Naruto's realms and what they would mean for the rest of them, talking about how he would be able to spread the love better than what he already did. Just because you claim to be the peak of manly masculinity does not mean I would be dating you, Ares. Ares smirked. Well then, who would you see as your alternate's husband? Hera was the one who spoke up. If you have not forgotten Ares, I do believe when Naruto came here, after settling us down from his natural boat skill, and after taking everything into account, while reversing who was charmed, I would most likely marry the female form of love to Hephaestus to stop all forms of jealousy between you boys. Naruto, Apollo, and Hermes all chuckled at that, Naruto turning to the crippled god. You hear that, Hef? Maybe we should hang out more to quell the jealousy among your brothers. Hephaestus laughed. Well, maybe you can come over to the forge one of these nights. I think I can find something you can do. Maybe you will fall into the forge this time instead of breaking your hand. Naruto actually pouted at that. While everyone else got a good laugh, Naruto had tried to bond with all of his fellow immortals. He has sparred with Ares, done some metalworking with Hephaestus, cruised with Apollo, drank with Dionysus, traveled with Hermes, played chess with Athena, hunted with Artemis, stoked the hearth with Hestia, swam with Poseidon, counted gems with Hades, sewn with Hera, and has even helped Zeus with a thunderstorm before. Naruto has also learned the importance of armor in even friendly spars. Hammers can break your hand when you yourself are swinging them. Apollo doesn't have barf bags on his chariot. Dionysus has too many types of alcohol for even a god to be able to try them all in one sitting. Hermes needs a vacation. Athena can win chess in 3 moves, has learned you can shoot yourself with a bow and arrow. The Olympian hearth only enjoys being poked by Hestia's stick. How to swim faster than a shark with 1 foot. Hades can count how many gems buries a person when a pile falls on you. How to sew a shirt to the one you're wearing. And Zeus' master bolt does indeed have some backfire to it. Zeus is just immune to it. Naruto has learned many lessons. Some baffle him beyond words. Well, back to the current subject. Naruto looked at Zeus. So, you want to go explore the wide world of alternate realms? Or are we just going to make fun of me all day? Zeus chuckled a little more as he spoke. Well then, allow us to form the duplicates. Naruto, through his many experiments, has learned that, with the help of Zeus' space domain, he could duplicate anyone, including the gods, allowing them a bit more free time, though they would have to be careful. The duplicates were not as powerful as the originals. At least all the duplicates would have to do is watch over their domains and make sure nothing went wrong. Zeus and Naruto stepped towards one another as they each reached out with their right arms and gripped the other's forearm. The other 11 gods/goddesses stepped towards them, while beings that were not as bright as themselves took their places. Zeus smiled as he raised his hands, forming a door with the clouds. Apollo looked at the door, for once unknowing of where he would be going. Where we gonna end up? Zeus smiled at his son. Where is the fun in spoilers? And with that, the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus stepped into the unknown. Similarly to last chapter, we come into this new world during the summer solstice, catching our gods and goddesses at a very bad time. Thundering storm clouds and quaking mountain is what greeting our dimensional guests, all of them completely caught off guard as they had to steady each other from the surprise quake. Hades turned to his brothers. Is it that time of the month? The younger gods all got a chuckle out of that, mostly from the secondary fact that Poseidon and Zeus were once getting into so many arguments Naruto had convinced them to actually duke it out where no one would be harmed, fisticuff style, with Apollo on standby to heal them up. It took a full week for the two to work through their aggression towards one another, allowing them to refer to that week as their time of the month. As you can see, they never lived it down. Zeus marched towards the throne room, his family following close behind. The minor gods and spirits all wore expressions of shock, the alternate Olympians just laughing it off. As Zeus reached the doors to the council chambers, he tossed them aside, entering as if he owned the place. The Zeus on the throne, however, found absolutely no amusement at all. What in Tartarus is going on? Honestly though, several gods were not happy at the moment. Poseidon, Hera, Hephaestus, Artemis and Athena all looked rather irritated as well. Zeus was not having a good day, especially since he was missing his master bolt. Naruto however stepped forward. Bro, chill, we are from an alternate realm, and we decided that we were all curious enough to see how things would change if it was different. Aphrodite licked her lips as she stared at the man that spoke. Who are you, handsome? Naruto looked at her smiling brightly, noticing the glare Ares gave him. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Naruto, the handsome god of love, the main man of beauty, the prince of pleasure. Zeus glared at the alternate gods. Enough. What is it you're here for? They alternate, Zeus raised a brow. Was I as grouchy as this before, brothers? Before either older, Big Three could respond, see canon, Athena spoke up. Apparently, they are us, from a realm where Aphrodite is a male. Said goddess was up quicker than Zeus could throw a bolt of lightning. And self-say was never more tempting than now. Naruto looked completely caught off guard. Why am I a whore? Aphrodite stood in shock, Hephaestus, Hermes, Dionysus, and Apollo all burst out laughing, Artemis and Athena smirked in smug victory, Hera and Demeter each raised a brow in interest, while Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades all just shook their heads. The alternate gods all however looked disappointed or disgusted in Artemis and Naruto's cases, Artemis speaking up. Naruto, is your alternate asking to bed you in the presence of your wife? That caught everyone's attention. Apollo looked between the two. Artie? Alternate Artie, who is he married to? Artemis stepped towards Naruto, linking her left hand with his own right, raising them to show a ring on her own ring finger. Or maybe you need more than my irritation at your goddess of horse to tell you. The canon gods all stared in shock, Artemis answering. I am the goddess of maidens and would never marry a man. Artemis just raised a brow. Even with him blocking all form of romantic love from my hunters, and allowing me to recruit the daughters of strong hunter recruits that rejected my offer. Artemis glared at Aphrodite. Well, at least there are better love gods out there than our own. As Artemis sat in her throne glaring at Aphrodite and pouting about her alternate's marriage, Hephaestus stepped forward. So, mother made me marry a whore. Guess Ares is her favorite. That got glares from the love-smith god couple as the other, gods laughed. Zeus became enraged as he stepped towards his own alternate. How dare you come into our realm on this sacred day and insult us? Zeus blinked as he stood straighter, staring eye to eye with his other. None of the seated gods noticed the two Hestias sitting by the hearth, calmly chatting like they were old friends, both giggling at the childishness that Zeus was displaying. Zeus decided enough was enough and tossed his alternate back to his throne. How long has it been since you have properly battled someone? It's almost as if you just sit there and just use the Master Bolt to battle with. I am glad that I took Naruto's advice to going hand to hand against my brother to keep myself in shape. Naruto laughed. Point to Poseidon. Apollo's eyes widened. Why didn't I think of that? Apollo groaned. So he made it up first in now 2 dimensions. Damn, I figured I had the advantage with him not being him here. Naruto chuckled. You're just not bro enough, Apollo. Both Apollo just grunted and turned away from him. Zeus stood up as he glared at his alternate. You dare step into my realm and strike me? Ares just grunted. Well, talk about lame, bet they don't even visit the camp either. Zeus glared. You would dare break that law? Hermes finally spoke up. There is no law in our world. We each get a week out of 1 month to spend at Camp Half-Blood, while one of the minor gods watches our domain. Naruto smiled as he stepped forward. When we talk through our problems, we find better solutions. Both Hestias stood up and walked over to get in between the two sides. Hestia spoke up. Apparently, things go a bit smoother with Naruto as the love god, without Aphrodite to wedge between them. Ares and Hephaestus actually bonded as brothers. Hera doesn't get too mad at Zeus, who actually has less affairs there, mostly due to Hera blessing the mortal women. Hera looked shocked. Excuse me, Hestia, but did I hear you correctly? Both Hestias smiled as Hestia spoke up. Yes, you blessed them due to them being victims of horrible families. Naruto does his job well. But since we can't interfere with mortal lives directly, the wives of gods in our realm decide to use their husbands as blessings. Take Miss Grace for example. Her father tried to rape her after her mother left him, and as she prayed to you, the goddess of family, to fix her own. You had Zeus bless her with her own perfect family by allowing her to mother Zeus' children. Every canon god were shocked. Hestia spoke a little more. Although you still hate Heracles, he has always been a bit unbearable. Artemis stood up and walked towards her own counterpart. And what, pray tell, would convince you to bless a woman with a child from your own husband? Artemis just smirked. The women I allowed to bed Naruto have all been girls I wanted in my hunt. They were worthy to be recruited, but while tempted to join, their dreams and ambitions held them back. They wanted to do things like prove someone was wrong, prove they can succeed where they were assumed to fail. One particular woman gave Naruto a sweet little daughter she named Lacey, and I for one found her rather adorable. Zeus continued to glare. So, are any of you gonna ever tell us why you are here? Ares chuckled at that. I wanted to see how the alternate us would be like, and honestly, you all suck. After the alternate Ares spoke that one sentence, the rest of the alternate gods spoke up. Hermes honestly, I was hoping for a race with myself, but since you're all too busy to be any fun. Dionysus I am siding there bitterly sipping Diet Coke. I hate this idea now. Apollo I have been let down already by not having thought of calling Poseidon, Brosidon, so I lost interest a bit ago. Artemis I am a bit bitter at not being truly happy with the man I love, but I understand that not every world can have the perfect man, and are just stuck with a man's perfect woman. Marriage counseling was a better idea than I first thought. Athena well, I won't be able to ever really get the image of Naruto and Hephaestus going at it out of my head now. She sounded a little ill. Hephaestus great, now you put the image in my head, I wanna go back to my forge, and next time Ares gets a dumb idea like this, I will begin to refuse to fix his weapons. Hades hopefully Persephone is fine, this realm is already bringing my mood down. As Demeter glared, Demeter just chuckled. I am sure she is happily tending her garden, you would never hurt her no matter the realm. Hades and Demeter stared in shock at the two, as Demeter walked over, a different cereal box than she brought in her hands. Hades grunted and shook his head. You and your cereal. Demeter just stuck her tongue out at him, before turning quickly enough to slap him with her hair. Poseidon chuckled at the strange looks his family was getting from their alternate forms. Well, I wonder how bad the next world would be. Zeus well, I for one vote against trying this again. I figured I would be able to have a proper conversation with my alternate, and here I find an overgrown child whining about having his glow stick stolen. Hestia looked to be pouting at her family, but before she could speak Naruto spoke up. My family, I have spent the past thousands of millennium repairing and building the bonds we now share, and here is a world that has been torn asunder by the claws of depravity and lust. I must stay and repair the rotting hearts of our alternative realms beings. I hope you all understand my request. Zeus smiled at the god that repaired his own marriage. I would wish you luck in your quest, but the fates know that you need far more than any form of wish from any of us. As the other gods nodded, Naruto stood tall as he split his power in half, forming a proper godly double. Thank you Zeus, I am glad that you understand the pain it brings me to see these poor gods suffer a world so horrid. Artemis rolled her eyes. You love too willingly Naruto. Artemis gave Naruto one final kiss before stepping back. Hestia smiled. Well, I wish you luck as well Naruto. Zeus had finally become fed up. Enough. I tire of you all speaking as if we were not here. My marriage is perfect, the most perfect of this and any realm. We have no need of your aid, and as soon as I have my bolt returned to me, I will remove you all from my presence. Hera slapped the back of Zeus' head. Enough, even I can see that we could use help from a proper being of love, rather than someone who doesn't understand proper love, and only goes about looking for the next pretty face to put on her wall. Poseidon spoke up. Honestly, they appear happier than us. I won't mind giving him a chance to help out. Zeus glared. This will not help your brat from his punishment if he fails his quest Poseidon. Poseidon just smirked. Actually, I was having the thought of changing my name to Brosidon. Sounds much more bro, right bro? Zeus' brow started to twitch. Zeus just looked at the gods of the current realm. A simple visit to learn of another world has brought about a quest to bring a proper form of love to said world. I would normally vote we leave them to sort their own bullshit out. Zeus turned and opened the door back to their own world. Remember, just get your duplicate to say the word, and we will retrieve you, no matter the cost. You are family after all. But those last words, the gods of the alternate realm left Naruto on his everlasting quest to save the love of another world. Turning around to come face to face with the arguing children that were called gods in this realm, he slumped. There goes the next 100,000 years down the drain. Naruto was currently looking for his bow Artemis gave him, hoping that he would accidentally shoot himself in the knee again. Artemis still has not figured out how he did it the first time as far as he knew. Naruto has been here for all of a couple days, with Aphrodite flirting with him, Ares threatening him, Hephaestus and Hermes laughing at him, and Apollo and Artemis questioning him. Aphrodite was the most annoying person he has ever met. Zeus was a close second, until a young demigod named Percy Jackson brought the crybaby his glow stick stick back. Half-powered, and he could still give each of these gods a run for their money and power, which he found out after Ares tried to fight him. His realm's Ares could flatten him, while this Ares almost lost. All of these gods were lazy as hell, the only exercise these gods get is sex. Naruto sighed as he went over what he knew in his head, trying to ignore the arguing gods, before standing from his half-sized throne behind Aphrodite's own. I have made a decision. Ares groaned before he commented, being irritated that Aphrodite kept whining about how her male self wasn't better, making Naruto a cockblock through reasons. Finally going home, Naruto gave the god a deadpan glare. I have been reasoning with myself about how to repair the loveless void within this world. I shall begin by counseling the demigods, repairing the love they have for you all, and through that, I will strengthen the love you all feel, which will strengthen the love you all give. Aphrodite rolled her eyes. Well, all my children love me, so I have no idea what you're talking about. Naruto looked at Aphrodite with a harsh glare. I have no direct connection to your children, nor do I possess the proper connection to our domain as you do, and I can tell that the love all your children feel is nowhere near the amount of children have for their parents, let alone what my children have for me, and that is just our children within Camp Half-Blood. Naruto was actually glaring at the goddess of love with enough rage to make Ares pause. Then, there are the feelings of broken love through your children I feel that are not in camp. Have you never connected to your children through their hearts before? Aphrodite gasped. I will have you know, I love all my children, and they all love me. Naruto stopped glaring and gave Aphrodite a blank look. As the god of love, I can connect to every being within my domain. If someone cooks a meal with all their heart for someone, whether it be delicious or horrible, I can feel it. If someone buys a ring to pop a question with, I can hear the joy in their voices, and I am able to feel the love through each and every single one of my children, and all I feel from a couple of them is anger, rage, and loneliness. Aphrodite looked shocked as Naruto kept talking. I guess a floozy can't be expected to remember all of her little flings that give her a child. Aphrodite stood up as she glared back at Naruto. Now see here, you uncouth ruffian. Naruto exerted more power than Aphrodite and forced her to return to her seat. I am at half strength and am able to force you back. You have been so out of touch of proper love, you have grown weak. I will repair the love within the next generation. Then I shall return to counsel you all. And I hope you are all prepared to listen, or else I will show you the strength love can have when it is fighting to save those close to it. Naruto turned and left the throne room, leaving the love goddess nearly in tears. Hermes frowned as he asked, "You think Hess right about implying that Luke is recruiting?" Apollo just sighed. I just keep getting the same prophecy as before, so I bet he won't change too much. Artemis actually had a smile as she watched the man leave. Ares grunted. About time the bastard left, giving me a headache about all that love crap. Aphrodite glared at the god of war, while Hephaestus scratched his chin. You think we could have been closer as brothers had Aphrodite not joined us on Olympus, Ares? Ares grunted as he almost laughed. What, you want to hug and make up before we even had any counseling, bro? Hephaestus just grunted towards him as he turned back to his small project in his hands. Hera looked between her two sons, before smiling towards Hephaestus, knowing that he would have preferred to have a happy family, rather than being married to a goddess that doesn't even care if she is caught cheating on him. Zeus just glared towards the door as Poseidon spoke up towards him. He isn't really part of our council, so we can't really stop him, considering he is also considered to have no half-bloods. Zeus turned his glare towards his brother. Scene, change Naruto walked towards the archway that lead towards the camp, giving the strange tree along the path towards his goal a questioning glance. As Naruto continued his quest, now towards where he sensed the campers, he notices the quaking of some strange barrier around the camp, before seeing the campers rushing towards the ruckus, only for a large metallic bull broke through. Naruto watched as the campers did battle with a Colchis bull, and as the bull failed to burn a Cyclops to a crisp, before turning to give chase to a young daughter of Athena that tried to stab it in the ass with a spear. Naruto watched as Percy used his pen blade to cause the bull to explode, before Luke walked out of the foliage nearby and spoke some words about a prophecy towards him. Luke and Percy turned to see Naruto, Percy still being too inexperienced to identify a god simply from his presence. Naruto's half-presence not helping very much, just looked curious. Luke, however, was able to tell when he was standing before a god, though he was assuming the god before him was but a minor one, but still a god nonetheless. What would you want here? Naruto smiled at Luke. All I ask is for you to allow me to understand your hatred. Love can shine even within the darkness. Tell me your woes and sorrows, and allow me to aid you in finding the light. Luke glared. So they sent a minor god of love to talk me down. They stood a better chance with Aphrodite coming to seduce me. With that, Luke used a green amulet to get out of the camp. Percy looked at Naruto. Your god. Naruto smirked as he heard more ruckus off in the distance. Perseus, there seems to be trouble. As Percy and Naruto reached the crowd of campers, several looking at Naruto questioningly, they discovered them looking at a tree as it began to wither away. Annabeth, what's wrong? Alia's tree is dying. Tyron walked around the tree before he touched it and pulled his hand away, bringing some strange liquid with it. Alia's tree was poisoned. As everyone returned to camp at the bad news, Naruto followed Chiron to talk. So, I am Naruto, the god of love from an alternate dimension, which is completely better than this world. Chiron looked at the blonde in confusion, before sighing and shaking his head, speaking as he continued his work on the antidote. Percy came by the scene in his search for Chiron, which caused him to frown at the blonde before asking Chiron about his prophecy. Naruto listened as well, while Chiron explained what he would, before sending Percy to the Oracle of Delphi in the attic of the big house, before turning to talk to Naruto. So, Naruto, what is it you seek here at a camp of an alternate realm? Naruto smiled as Chiron tried to keep it all on the down low and decided to ignore his concerns and spoke loud and clear. Well, in my realm, where I am the god of love, I have repaired many relationships and bonds. However, in this world, where your goddess of love has done nothing if not the opposite, and after some random reasons of curiosity, the gods of my realm decided to come and check out another realm, and after seeing the amount of shit that has hit your realm's fan, I cold just turn a blind eye to this. Several campers all stared in shock at the boy that claimed to be the love god. A young girl decided to walk over and give him a piece of her mind. Selena, while not liking to be focused on, would not stand back and listen, while some crazy guy badmouthed her mother and the domain she ruled over. Excuse me, but did I just hear you correctly? Before Chiron could calm her down, Naruto spoke up. Actually, you did, Selena, and may I say, you look slightly less outstanding. In my realm, your mother always enjoys going to dances and has loved to dress up with you and take you with her. I always loved the father-daughter dances she took you to. Selena looked at the man as if he had actually said the moon was made of cheese, before turning to Chiron. I am sorry, Miss Borgard, but the multiverse is a real thing, and what Naruto says is true, about him originating in a realm other than our own. I have personally not been to any realm other than this one, but with Zeus' own power over space, he has the power to travel between realms. I have no thought on his reasons as to why he doesn't. Possibly because he wishes not to accidentally travel to a realm where he failed to defeat Kronos. Several campers that were nearby looked on in shock as Naruto smiled. Well, I came here to help, and hope that by helping you all here to find the love that has been buried for so long, I can help the Olympians to uncover their own love. Clara snorted. And how exactly do you change between our realms? Naruto smiled, having expected this question sooner or later. That is the same as asking the difference between the perfect man and the perfect woman. A rather strong-looking satyr spoke up from near Clarice. What's the difference? Well, the first thing to explain is that the perfect form of one is depicted by the opposite gender. Man's perfect woman, especially in the past, has always been meant to stand there, look pretty, and bear him plenty of children in hopes of a perfect heir, therefore meaning, the perfect woman is attractive and enjoys sex. Selena actually glared at the man. That is not true, a woman is much more than a pretty face and baby oven. Naruto smiled at her as he continued. Yes, but in the past, the perfect woman was meant to have servants to even dress her, let alone cook and clean, therefore, she would just require to be hot and ready to jump into bed whenever the man wanted, and Aphrodite has taken that role and never moved forward. Artemis, however, was ahead of her time with women being just as strong as men. The couple campers laughed at that, interrupting the blonde before he continued. However, a woman's perfect man is loving, doesn't always just want them for their bodies, able to provide and defend them. A woman will always want to be treated as a princess, but will hate being treated as if she were made of glass. A woman's man would be willing to pleasure her in all the right ways, and that includes the simple things, like just cuddling under the stars on the night of a full moon, or giving her breakfast in bed on a special day. However, she still wants to be treated as she were his equal, and not just another notch on his belt. Several girls gave some boys slightly disappointed looks. Naruto chuckled before he spoke again. Unlike most men, who won't care or even prefer it, Selena stopped glaring as much as before. So, most of our problems are caused by Aphrodite. Naruto smiled. As simple as it is to blame but one person, reality is not always so simple. Truthfully, the other gods could have been a bit more mature. Just because love is what is lacking, doesn't mean it all falls onto Aphrodite's shoulders. Love can't fix everything, but the lack of trying on Aphrodite's part certainly didn't help. Several campers looked to think what he said over, before everyone heard Dionysus calling a meeting of all campers. At the meeting, Dionysus gave a small explanation about how they needed the strongest camper, with the aid of a satyr to locate the golden fleece. Naruto could sense how the anger from Annabeth said this was originally her idea, while he noticed Grover appeared to be relieved. Dionysus then started speaking again, acting as if it was just an afterthought. By the way, Mr. Naruto here is the love god from an alternate world for those who have not heard, and he is here to spread some love, so if you need to talk about any issues, don't hesitate to ask him for help. Tyron just sighed as he shook his head, expecting Mr. D to shrug off some responsibility to Naruto. Naruto smiled as he stepped forward. Spreading love is not as simple as that, dude. I must seek the cause of hatred that spreads, and that means finding the campers that ran away. finding what caused the hatred within them, and stopping that hatred. Hatred is a dark cycle that spreads as if it were a virus. Talking with those here will just interfere with its spreading. Selena stepped forward to speak with Naruto. Well then, Fath. Naruto instantly cut her off before she could finish. I am not your father, and I don't expect you to extend that branch of respect towards me. I didn't aid you as I have my children from my realm. Percy was the one to step forward to speak this time. What do you mean? Gods never help their children directly. It's against some law they have, isn't it? Naruto groaned. My realm has no such law. Well, we allowed you to be raised by your mortal parents. We were still allowed to aid you as needed, and we even aided you each in getting here to camp. We each were allowed 1 hour to help our children reach camp, and no more. It's actually not that uncommon for gods to spend an hour with their children before dropping them off here. Tyrant sighed sadly upon that reveal, while several campers glared at Cabin 10's members, seeing reason to blame their mother for lack of contact with their own divine parent. Naruto took notice, and while he too did blame Aphrodite, he couldn't just let Cabin 10's members be hurt or neglected for their mother's screw-up. Listen, all of you, I will not have you blaming Aphrodite's children for things that are out of their control. Your divine parents, mostly Zeus. There was a bang of thunder as Naruto turned towards Olympus. If you have time to listen in on me talking to the kids, you have time to reflect on your actions, so stop bitching and think of how to be a better king, you ass. Several campers snickered, not really used to seeing anyone but Mr. D talk back to Zeus, and even he just reiterates his statement slightly to sound less insulting. Naruto joined them in chuckling. As I was saying, mostly Zeus are all to be really blamed. Thing is, gods are harder to teach lessons to than humans, because they can be properly punished. The gods will all be spoken to in order to make them better, but they are gonna take centuries, so I figured I would help out here and calm things down here in camp, especially with the whole Luke situation. My main goal is to cure the hatred you kids have, then I am going to convince your divine parents, and then their parent. Several kids actually snorted at him when he said that last part. A younger daughter of Aphrodite asked her question. How are you gonna help Kronos? Won't he just kill you the moment you open your mouth? Naruto looked at who he recognized as Lacey, chuckling a bit as he addressed everyone. Well, he is diced up into a coffin, and anyone can communicate with but a touch, though the gods can speak with him telepathically. My brother will be hard to turn, but I have faith. I will just have to relive the time when the ass called me testicle foam with a degrading edge. Almost all the kids laughed at that, getting a chuckle from Naruto's experience with Kronos. Even Dionysus snorted at the god. Naruto smiled at the kids. I hope to be able to fix your relations with your parents, and if any of you have any worries at all, no matter the subject, do not fear to come and speak with me. As Naruto spoke with the campers, the gods on Olympus all watched him through the hearth. All of them were wondering what would come their way. Apollo was having trouble getting a solid vision concerning Naruto, and Artemis was still arguing with herself over her supposed marriage to the blonde. Aphrodite was still pouting at not experiencing the perfect man in a sexual way. Ares was griping about being blue-balled because he didn't want to sit through Aphrodite's whining. Hephaestus was watching and silently enjoying his brother's suffering and his wife's aggravation at being rejected. Hermes had brought the popcorn Hephaestus would occasionally reach over and snag some of. Demeter and Hera were listening to learn more about the differences between the realms, while Poseidon was smirking at a pout. Jason and Leo were both acting very strange. They almost completely ignored Piper, as they practically licked at the heels of the girl showing them around the mall. Medea was leading the trio through the hall, but as she was about to walk into the potion shop, Piper shouted to her. What is this? Medea smiled as she turned to the girl and stopped smiling. What had caught Piper's attention was a rather large orange lava lamp, which as the lava within it went up, it would show people's faces, and each face was different. Once, Piper could swear she saw Mickey Mouse, as well as Kronos from that game, God of War. She also swore she saw her own, as well as Jason's and Leo's faces within the lave. Anubis was also there, before it morphed into Mulan's. Medea however began to shift and gulped as she began. That is a container for a being so evil, you would be insane to even go near it. Jason and Leo took several steps back, however, Piper gained an orange ring around her own eyes. Piper began to have strange thoughts of songs, staring in roles from movies she could in cold place. Medea's eyes widened as Piper began to sway, before she started to quietly sing a song. Jason actually almost snapped out of Medea's hold as he sung along, Medea able to hear him singing the male part to A Whole New World. Medea pulled Piper away from the 5-foot-tall lava lamp as Piper appeared to snap out of the trance. The being in there is very dangerous if you were to gain control over yourself or anyone. Jason was the one who asked, surprising Medea and Piper. What makes the being in there so dangerous? Medea gulped. He is a demigod of Apollo. Jason, Piper, and even as out of it as Leo was, even he gave her what the fuck. Look, his mother was an extremely gifted actress who was a daughter of Aphrodite, and the boy had inherited her level of charm speak, added in with Apollo's own gifts, which allowed the boy prophetic capabilities of the arts. Normally this won't be so bad, however, somewhere, none knows, the man that Aphrodite bedded was a descendant, or possibly even a son, of Dionysus, and his godly blood was strong enough to allow the power of madness to flow through him. Hyper somewhat looked a bit disbelieving, asked her another question. And how does that make him dangerous? Mehdi almost looked ready to cry. He and some of the other campers came here for a quest, and he wound up staying, though after spending a week with the man, I swear they simply ditched him as they laughed at me, but with Aphrodite's blood, he has some powers over her domains, allowing him charm speak, while Apollo's own blood allows him some prophetic capabilities, especially with forms of art. He knows every movie, television series, and especially musicals, that have ever been or ever will be, and with the aura of madness he has, anyone who is near him will be forced to follow the madness. I once heard he forced the Hunters of Artemis to sing the Men in Tights number from some Robin Hood musical, and not even Chiron himself is immune, having been forced to sing the song One Last Hope from Disney's Hercules. Hyper frowned. How is that so horrible? So people have sung, it's not that bad. Mehdi almost glared. It took me 2 months to trick that ass into that lava lamp, so you had better not touch it at all. Hyper stopped to think over that. 2 months of trying to get someone who would randomly start singing, which would force you to sing with him, no matter the song, while also causing you to hallucinate random things. Then she thought of what happened earlier, how she could feel her clothes change to appear as Jasmine's outfit from Aladdin, how she could feel the wind in her face as she and Jason flew through the sky on a carpet. While romantic, she would be crazy if she said she was willing to deal with that randomly. Medea saw the almost understanding look in Piper's eyes as she rushed them forward, reapplying her control over Jason. Thanks for watching.